So we were coming off working on the previous titles that we'd created for the iPhone, Rolando and Rolando 2. But we had the opportunity to work on a bigger game, a game on a bigger scale. And one of the areas that we looked at was Africa. In terms of the landscapes of Africa, the culture of Africa, it felt like this really rich seam of inspiration that felt very untapped by games.
Well, I guess Simon got us involved about 12 months ago, and it was the first time that Resonate had been in charge of the whole soundtrack, so we looked after all the music, but also all the character voices, the sound effects, and then the actual integration of the audio into the game.
We sent over some tracks and some bits of music that we really liked. We brought in the game and demoed, where it was at that prototype stage. And then it was a real process of back and forthing. So we sent over a build for them to play, they'd send back tracks, we'd integrate them.
For the sound design and effects, Simon was keen that we created a playful environment and were influenced by cartoons for a lot of the sounds. We looked at old Disney cartoons and how they used tonal and musical sources to create sounds.
One of the key things production-wise was just working out a way to make it as authentic as possible. So that was working with a lot of African musicians, and also recording a lot of kind of African instruments properly, not relying on sample libraries, but actually recording everything live.
So after sort of getting together a load of ideas and loads of styles that had influenced us, like Ghanaian high life and I guess some West African sort of Afrobeat and some of the sort of disco stuff that had come out of the sort of early 70s, we decided to start sketching ideas using Logic. We used loads of different sample libraries initially, just so we could, get some musical ideas down and some rhythmic ideas. That's such an important part of the whole process.
We were kind of quite keen that it didn't sound too polished, so we liked the idea, it kept things simple. So in terms of the effects or the overall sound, we didn't want something that was, I guess, too studio based.
The main thing for us was to replace those sounds and those samples with live musicians. We wanted to inject some soul and some life into it. We recorded a lot of African percussion, a lot of traditional African instruments, but also guitars, bass, keyboards. So we had a whole range of different types of instruments to bring together and create this live feeling. One of the key members of the Okabu sound is Herbie, the vocalist that you hear on the trailer. Such an amazing character, really positive, loves music to the core.
I was born in a small town in the southern part of Zimbabwe. It's a town called Gwanda, which is in Matebele South. The Ndebeles, or Matebele, it's a sub-tribe of the Zulus.
A friend of mine said that somebody was looking for some percussionists or something like that, or some people that can sing with African tones or with African influences.
We created very rhythmic phrases. Some of them, most of them not even being real words. And that was quite an important part of it as well. We wanted it to be understandable even if you didn't know what the language was.
So I had to be really creative because it had to be kind of with reference to Africa, but not really any particular African language or culture. So a lot of it was just making random things up that sounded like particular emotions.
But it's just the dynamic of having to think about making sounds, making words that don't mean anything in anyone else's language. But when you feel them, when you listen to them, it's like you've already communicated a sad theme of how the game relates to, or if you're watching it. So it's been such a wonderful experience having to work with the people that we just came and we got together, and the dynamics, we just became friends and we all loved what we're doing. So that's been smashing thing and smashing experience working on this game.
We couldn't be happier with the music for the game, the audio for the game. It just fits Okabu so perfectly. I think has given it so much more flavour than we possibly ever could have imagined. It's one of the things that people comment on almost immediately upon playing the game, certainly from the trailer when we pushed it out there. It's brought such charm and delight to the soundtrack and to the game itself.